Hey YouTube, it's me, Turkish Delight, and our court is, I think, taking the news very well. Some of you may be wondering why certain things in the Isle have changed. Some of us, like myself, are lucky to have known that this will be happening before it happened, due to observing what things the devs have said and realizing what happened to previous dinosaurs, namely Dibble, Galley and Paki. Let me start with Dibble. Dibble got increased in size not just because of its matchup with other dinosaurs, but because the developers, namely Dondi, liked the way that Dibble looked in its 3-ton model. So they increased the weight to match the model's weight. Galley got upsized in weight, also because the model actually does weigh that much if you put it into Unreal Engine and look at the model density. Paki also got increased in weight because the actual Paki model in Unreal Engine, if you look at the density of the model, actually does weigh that much, so their size got increased. Unfortunately for some dinosaurs, this is the inverse. So, what can I do right now that would put you guys at ease? Well, I've already thought about that, and so what I did is that I reached out to Hypno. Hypno had this to say. I asked Hypno, hey Hypno, I'm wondering if I will be able to get a statement about something to better inform people in my next video, rather than letting people make incorrect speculation. Hypno said, what's up? I then said 2 questions. I wanted to ask if the weight change to Allo and Prime Cerrado, as well as past weight changes for Galley and Paki, were done in an effort to match the model weight to the in-game weight. Hypno then says, Don has been lining up a lot of the weights recently with the respective model sizes. You can expect some more of these changes on other characters soon as well. Once the weight matches the model scale, we will review the balancing again and adjust accordingly. So if some of those characters are now too weak or too strong, we can look at making alterations to them in other areas. I'm just including this here just to prove that it is in fact Hypno. Here we go. Click on the name. Hypno. The Isle Hypno. And here is the message of him saying this. So yes, I am in fact talking to Hypno about stuff. I will, however, blur this entire chat, so you don't get to see it. Bye-bye. So, what does this mean? What this means is, the in-game dinosaurs, instead of their weight just being a number that is given to them due to the weight of the actual dinosaur IRL, what we are doing instead is that we are standardizing the dinosaurs' weights based on their models. Once that process has been done, and probably at the exact same time as doing it, the devs will be going through and adjusting the models of every single dinosaur such that they are more balanced. If that makes sense. So like if Raptor needs to be 450 kilograms in terms of actual in-game balance, and there's no other way that we can do it besides making it weight again, I'm assuming the devs will then just upscale the model again. We'll end up with bigger Raptor. You guys can already start to see where some of these issues may be, namely in one that I've given you, which will be Dilo. I've put up the Dilo thing on the screen. A friend of the channel was able to make this render for us to kind of show you the idea. On the right hand side and the left hand side shows you the current scales and then the fixed scales. So what this basically means is that the actual model for Dilo at the moment is about 540 kilograms or 570 kilograms if you just take the density of the model. The in-game weight, however, is 700 kilograms. And as you can see, in order to make this work, you'd have to physically make the model bigger for them both to match. So you'd go from a 0.85 scale to a 0.92 scale. Same thing for the Elder. To make the Elder properly work, you'd have to make it slightly bigger as well, so it reaches the proper Elder size. And we can keep doing this for every single dinosaur in the game, eventually. Or B, we leave the dinosaurs at the smaller scale. Because think about it this way. Once every single dinosaur in the game either loses weight or gains weight, in theory, things might actually be more balanced than we actually assume. But you may be wondering, why would the developers, namely Dondi, even want this in the first place? It's very simple, actually. But what I'm able to understand. The idea that Dondi's been talking about for actually quite a while is this idea of when you look at a dinosaur, players want to be able to tell how big that dinosaur is just by looking at them visually. So a way that we're going to be doing this, at least it seems to be the way the devs are going to be doing this, is by making the actual weight of the dinosaur equal the model weight. And that way we can now just adjust everything off that scale. In fact, I actually took a little bit of a sneak peek into the dinosaurs' model densities and worked out which dinosaurs are most likely to have model density changes. I've already shown you Dilo, but there's quite a few. And one of the interesting things was T-Rex's model was actually pretty much exactly 1-to-1 scaled. Meaning that I think that this probably was a thing that happened very, very recently, basically. They got T-Rex's model 1-to-1 scaled, and the devs probably just really, really liked the visual feedback. There was also in the past a lot of feedback given to the developers about the model sizes of the dinosaurs in the game and telling how big a dinosaur is based on looking at it. It seems to be that the devs have even taken this feedback on board as well. So we'll see what happens. There won't be instances of like, how do you say, well, for example, at the beginning of the Allo Hordetest, there were a lot of complaints on people saying that the juvie allos were ridiculously powerful. And they were. The reason was that if you were to grow a juvie allo right now, you might notice that at some places where you used to be 300 kilograms, you now still only weigh 70 kilograms. That's right. Allo's growth curve was completely wonky during the juvie and sub stage, meaning that the juvies were way bigger than they were meant to be. The fact that this has been corrected shows that that was kind of what actually happened. The actual, the curve that dictates how big a dinosaur is per percentage was a bit messed up for Allo. At least that's what I'm assuming. Therefore, juvie allos were much bigger, meaning that people were being pinned and pounced and brought to the floor by juvie allos, whereas otherwise they wouldn't be. There's that visual feedback that isn't quite there. The juvie allo looks quite small, but it's weighing same as a raptor. It's not that good. But I can actually perfectly understand why the developers are going to be doing this, and I'm actually very, very, very excited, because I've been theorizing for quite a while that after Rex and Allo are introduced into the game, that there would be a period where we go through and rebalance a whole bunch of stuff in the art. In fact, I'm fairly sure I mentioned this in a previous video. That is a theory that I have. That's what's going to happen. I think it's going to happen. The last time something like this happened that was so big was when the devs decided to make health pools and weight the same number, meaning that a dinosaur's health would equal its weight. And a lot of dinosaurs got downsized. So Raptor went from having 1,000 health to basically having 450 health, as we have it now. Because it had to get downsized down to its weight, basically. Which is a huge nerf for Raptor. Like, if we're going to be elitist in terms of Raptor, try to remind Raptor mains that if you were playing Raptor back in early Spiro, you knew what it was like to lose half of your health, basically. You're only losing like 25% of your health right now. So if we're going to be elitist about it, because I can already see the Raptor mains complaining about it. I don't blame them, right? It's tough being a frail animal and then being made even more frail. But a lot of dinosaurs are going to be potentially decreasing in weight, and a lot of them are going to be increasing in weight. I wish I actually had the images to show you guys, hence why I'm a bit hesitant to actually tell you guys the model scales. But if you will believe me, just for a moment, I will go through some of the interesting ones. One of the interesting ones is Dryo, for a very interesting reason. You know what I'm trying to say. Dryo's model, I believe, weighs around 120 kilograms. Its in-game weight is 130 kilograms. That's 10 plus. But we actually know why this happened. And in fact, I made a video about it when it happened. If you guys remember Cerrado chuff back in the day, people were trying to figure out what size body causes Cerrado to chuff. And we ended up working out that it was about Dryo, but it turns out it was only fully grown Dryos. Why was this? Well, the reason why was because the Cerrado chuff activates at 10% of the Cerrado's weight. So if the body is 10% of a Cerrado's weight, it will start to chuff. Dryo weight in game was 130, so it activated Cerrado chuff. In fact, I'm fairly sure if you go into the game right now, if you get a fully grown Cerrado at 1.4 tons and you go up to a Dryo body, I'm not sure if it does or not, there's potential that Dryo won't activate the chuff. because it doesn't reach the minimum weight requirement for a normal adult Cerrado. I don't believe the Elder works like that. I'm fairly sure the number is just set to what 10% of a normal Cerrado's weight is. So there is potential that Dryo might be upsized to 140 kilograms, and the model would therefore be upsized too. This would be very, very exciting for Dryo fans. But that's my speculation. We have the idea that dinosaurs like Dibble are quite interesting. The model for Dibble weighs about 5 tons. The actual Dibble Elder is 3,875 tons, and the Prime Elder model is 5 tons. Normal Dibble's model is actually pretty much 1-to-1. I wonder why it's 1-to-1. It's almost like, how do you say, this was the first dinosaur where this happened to. Furthermore, Packy's model isn't actually 1-to-1, believe it or not. But I think I understand why. Packy's model is about 50 kilograms lighter than it is in game. I think the reason why this is because the volume density that Unreal Engine doesn't take into consideration solid bone mass. So what I believe is happening is that they added 50 kilograms for the bone mass on Packy's head. That's what I'm thinking, and that's how you get that number. And Dibble, once again, any small deviation with Dibble could just be bone mass. Trike and Stego as well, bone mass. Galley actually is also, it seems to be 1-to-1 pretty much, which what makes me think that Dibble, Packy and Galley were lining it up with the model. And then we then got to thinking, being like, well, if this happened months ago, who's to say that more dinosaurs aren't going to get this? And that seems to be the case. Elder Trike could be going to 15 tons, potentially. We'll have to see. Another famous example is Troorodon. Troorodon weighs about half. Well, Troorodon weighs in game twice the amount that the model actually does. So we could see Troorodon's model getting bigger. But I think the reason why this was is because during the Troorodon Hordetest, and when it was released to, when it was released during the Hordetest, right? It was just getting killed very, very easily. So they increased its weight. That was it. And we've also had times where we've increased the weight even further, but the model stayed the exact same size. So that's about that. So there's quite a few little dinosaurs here that will have model changes. Those are the biggest ones I found. Everything else is very, very minor. So the biggest ones pretty much were things like Raptor, Prime Cerrado, Allo, Prime Allo that we've gotten so far. And I'm predicting we're probably going to see something like Dilo, Prime Elder Dibble, maybe like Dryo as the really easy ones to do. But we'll have to see, really. But yeah, I'm really, really excited because if we end up getting a complete rebalance of the game, which I'm not saying that this is what Hypno is saying, right? But just this idea of like, if we do go back through every single dinosaur in this Hordetest, that'll be amazing. Like, there's so much potential here for like really, really cool systems being added into the game. And I'm really, really excited. Unfortunately, this news has pretty much changed the video that would have been released right now. This video today would have been Allo Hordetest Part 2, which I guess this technically is. This is replacing Allo Hordetest Part 2. The next video where we go back into Allosaurus to be Allo Hordetest Part 3, which is also, the script for that is also being changed because Allo lost 200 kilograms. So, point is, I'm trying to make, please don't freak out too much. Try to correct people when you can, as nicely as you can, and just tell them it's neither a nerf nor a buff. The game is simply being reworked and things will be rebalanced because we're trying to line up the models with the weights. And when they ask you, but why would they do that? You then tell them it's because the devs want the visual size of the dinosaur to match up with the weight of the dinosaur. So you'll be able to tell how strong a dinosaur is just based on looking at it, which is actually a huge buff for the player. Because the more information we get given as players, the more we are actually able to engage with the game. Visual information is very, very important. So therefore, we should be encouraging the devs to give us more visual information. Right now, if you grow an Allo, you'll notice you're 70 kilograms for quite a while, and then you start increasing in weight. Whereas before, you would have been hitting about 300 kilograms. Meaning, you're effectively like almost able to like get 2 allos and grapple a raptor as juvies basically, which was causing a bunch of people to think that the juvie allos were just ridiculously powerful, which they were. They were way bigger than they were meant to be. The fact that the growth change got changed made me realise this. In fact, to the person who talked about the mix packing I did with the Carno for testing, you guys now understand why I did that. I mapped out the growth of the allo. So when it changed, I went, oh wait, look, there you go, that's been fixed. It's all these little clues that you can pick up while testing in the game that allow you to, like, how do you say, understand what the devs are doing, and then actually ask the devs certain questions and get, you know, the sort of answers that help other people understand what's going on. But that's about it. I don't want to continue this video for too long. I don't really think there's actually a reason to continue the video for too long. I said what I needed to say. Hopefully you guys are now better informed as to what's going on. And perfect. Don't freak out too much. Remember that after everything has been changed in weight, we will be able to test everything out again and then give the feedback to make things better. Is it going to be tough? Yes. Do I think this will make the game way, way better? Yeah, I do. I genuinely do think it is. Also, thank you for the support. I think the Allo video got like 3k views. That's pretty cool. I like that. To anyone new to the channel, welcome. I promise I'm not always as intense as this. Yeah. Hopefully, comfy videos will be coming back shortly. So, la la la.